Hi guys, it's Mindy here. I just wanted to do a prediction video for 2025. So I do a lot of psychic work and spiritual work in my practice. I connect with energy, I do a lot of readings, and I love using the tarot and astrology to connect to those energies. So part of that spiritual work means that often I'm making predictions for what may come in the year ahead for my own family and my own benefit. So often I'll privately record those events and share that with my immediate family, but never really have I shared them in a public space. So I thought it would be really interesting on December 31, it's a new moon today in Capricorn, just to share some insights into what I think may occur in 2025. So remember that these are entertainment only. All the statements that I'm making are not necessarily something that is in the media or something that is widely held beliefs. These are simply my own personal predictions. So please don't necessarily buy into them or make decisions based on what you're seeing today. This is literally just a bit of fun, a bit of entertainment, and something that I wanted to share with you all. Okay, so we're going to launch into the world. I'm going to start talking about what I see for the world for the next 12 months. And we're going to start with the USA. So we know that Trump is going to be inaugurated in January. Around the same time as his inauguration, we're going to see the Davos meeting for the World Economic Forum. So that is all very deliberately done. So when they inaugurate a new president around January 20th, that is the time where Capricorn transitions into Aquarius, the sun sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is known as being the wider planet, so it's all about technology, connection to technology, far-thinking beliefs, world events, things like that. It's an air sign. So there is very much a reason why this occurs. It is also the transition past the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere where the days do start to lengthen. So it's pretty auspicious when it comes to big changes like that. So the powers that be always pick dates that are really relevant to them in occult circles. So Trump, I think, is going to come out blazing in 2025. I feel like he's got Jupiter in Gemini at the moment until June. His sun sign is Gemini, so he's going to actually have a lot of fortitude. There's going to be a lot of excitement around his presidency for those that backed him. It's all going to be really, really interesting. He's going to love the power, he's going to love the fame, he's going to get very excited by it all. Lots of media conferences, lots of his face all over the place again. And I think that immediately he's going to go into action because he's always saying what he wants to do. These tariffs he's going to implement. He actually has a bigger plan and he has a lot of debts that he owes the powers that be. So this role is very much planned. I feel like he's going to come in and immediately enact some of those things that he said during his campaign that he would enact. So that he's going to be quite quick in signing deeds, getting documents done, getting things through Congress. Things are going to start moving fast. So I actually think that Trump's presidency has been deliberately put in place this year coming because we are going to see a transition in the economic markets and it's not going to be a good one. What I see is that the deliberate change from a fiat currency to a digital currency is going to really kick off next year. So we're going to see the digital space where they need to actually collapse the original currency. So that's what we're seeing with all this debt. We're seeing all this inflation. We're seeing all this fraction energy around money, the dominant US dollar, all of that collapsing. We're seeing all of that happening and it's quite deliberate. So they need the old systems to fall down. They need people to lose faith in them. They need these to eradicate so that they can move into their new agenda. So I actually think that Trump's going to be the face of that. It's going to be quite challenging for his presidency, quite deliberately. I feel like they need a president who's confident, who can kind of pull people through this. These shockwaves economically are going to cause a lot of turmoil in the populace. There's going to be a lot of uprising. And Trump needs to do this for whatever he owes the powers that be. So there is definitely more going on behind the scenes than we know, but I feel like it's all very deliberately placed. But through the second half of the year, I feel as America goes into their fall or their autumn, we're going to see a big shift a downturn economically. Now, I am not an economic person whatsoever. Money is not my thing. But I will pop a link into my comments below about regarding someone who really is more geared up in that space, and you can watch that interview and see what you think. So far, all of the predictions that were made back in 2023 have all come to fruition, and that included a steady rise in the stock market through 2024, record-breaking highs for the Dow Jones, that type of thing, and he was really on the money with that. And this person actually predicted that there will be a collapse though in 2025, and I actually think it all made sense to me with what he spoke about. His name's Simon Hunt. I'll put that link in. So he actually explains it better than I can because I'm not economically minded, but I have been feeling that this 2025 is very deliberately ployed to shift the economic stage, and Trump will be the face of that turmoil. Also, we know that in the middle of the year that his sun sign of Gemini, so he is Gemini sun, we will see Jupiter transition out of Gemini into Cancer. And so Elon Musk, his sidekick, the guy that's kind of running things behind the scenes, he is a Cancer sun. So all of this is very much deliberately ployed. They wait for these sign changes. They wait for these transitions in the zodiac. They use these dates and these times to actually make decisions. They're very patient. These are dynasties we're talking about. So I think we will see a big decline in the US dollar as the reserve currency. I think we're going to see the rise of BRICS. And everything is moving over to the big shift for CBDC. And we've got new technology being implemented that's already been around for a long time, but bit by bit, incrementally, we get bits of knowledge shared with us, the populace. So that information will be starting to come to fruition. We'll see more quantum computing, and we'll see that being kind of tagged along with this CBDC stuff. So we will do a live on that. I'll get my husband to weigh in on that because he's more technical when it comes to, the quantum computing, cryptocurrency, that type of thing. I also think that it's not a coincidence that Elon Musk has joined forces with Trump, and both men owe their power and wealth to a bigger plan, to bigger entities, bigger powers. And these are big dynasties that have been in the world for a long time. All right, so in Europe, I think there's going to be more right-wing politics. I think the age of leftism is over. I feel like that was all very deliberate to cause fractionated viewpoints, to cause people to, feel really divided. There was no kind of uniform belief systems around some of these implemented left-wing governments. We had the era of COVID and we had left-wing nations running it, even though some of the policies were quite right-wing. Very interesting time. I think people are in disarray. They're feeling, uncertain. They're feeling like their future is a little bit marred, especially younger generations. So we're going to see people uprising more in Europe. In Germany, we know that they've got their election in 2025 in February. Germany has been building their defence force. They have had their parliament collapse. This is all deliberate. This is not something that, just so-called happened. This has been planned for a long time. So they already had uprisings over Christmas period. There was already kind of events that occurred that will help cement this right-wing government. We're going to see a little bit more stress in France. Macron is definitely past his use-by date. We know they don't have an election until 2027, but the people are going to have more unrest. They're going to feel more distressed, but he's going to bog himself down even deeper because that's what he does. He's just going to stand firm, and despite the unrest that he has in his own country, he's doing this since 2017. He's been cementing himself as the president. I don't see any changes in their government in 2025. I think in Germany we will see the AfD party come in. I think Musk has already played his hand there. I think they're doing the whole media backflip where they're saying, Berlin was upset that he came in and tried to influence their politics. I don't think they're upset at all. I think, again, it's all part of the plan. Okay, China will have some economic woes, I think, in 2025, deliberately so. I think that as they transition to being a part of BRICS and they move over to CBDC and some of the tariffs that happen in the West, they're going to feel a little bit of that turmoil. But I also see, and this is a personal prediction, that for Xi, we're going to see an illness. So I can't tell you what type of illness. I just see that there is going to be an illness for him, and that's going to pull China back from the public eye. So while the West is going to be in a bit of disarray regarding commodity prices, regarding share markets, regarding, the inflation chapter, regarding unemployment increasing as well, even though that looks quite strong at the moment, that's all just data manipulation. I think that we're going to see China pull back because their leader is going to become unwell. And that is just some dreams that I've had, some connections I've had with China. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Now, Xi is also a Gemini sun, just like Trump. So I find that very interesting. And I think that their turbulence is going to begin in the middle of the year. So I actually think it'll be interesting to see if China do pull their energies back a little bit in 2025. I think that if their leader does become ill, they're going to be very secretive around this information. So Britain, I see the rise of William. And this has been something I've been predicting for a very long time. William to me is someone who you don't mess with. I actually feel that it's going to be a big shift. We've got Pluto moved into Aquarius in November 2024. And I think that is the age of Aquarius happening right now. So we're going to see a young king. We're going to see him come in and make the royal family more relevant, which is something that if we start to think about it, it's not necessarily a positive thing because they're a big part of the WEF, they've got bigger plans. And I don't necessarily think that some of the policies are in favour of the populace. It's more about relevancy and dynasties and things like that. He's very much going to enact some of the old stuff, bringing Britain into the forefront again. So we're going to see a lot of right-wing policies from him as king. He's going to have a lot more power than other monarchs have had in the past. So William is a Cancer sun and a Cancer moon. So that is a very interesting astrological aspect when it comes to power, because in royal history we had King Henry VIII was a Cancer sun. And they had a lot of retrogrades in their birth charts, very similar. I'll do a breakdown of their birth charts one day because I find it really fascinating. And we know that King Henry VIII ascended the throne very young. He was 18 in today's standards, being 40, there's a big bit of a difference there, but we live a lot longer. So he's going to ascend the throne a lot younger than what his father did. I actually think his father will still be physically alive when he ascends the throne. That's another prediction I've got. I don't know if that's going to occur necessarily next year, perhaps, but I feel like it's going to be a year where he cements himself. So we're going to see more of William in the public eye. We're going to see more, stuff coming out around him. We're going to see him really trying to publicly assert himself as the future king. So lots of policies. He's going to be very prominent in the media, and he's going to start speaking to the people and become the people's king. Everyone will love him. So this is, to me, I'm going to seem very controversial saying this. If people find this video, in a little bit of time, they're going to think that I'm, being really mean to poor William, but I don't think he's the nice guy that he seems. I think he's got big agendas on plans, and I think that he really, really wants to make his mark and be that, stern ruler. And I think that the royal family is going to eventually, 2030 is only 5 years away. I think they've got a big role to play in the big global kind of facet of this one world government that they're still trying to assert. The people are strong though. The people are going to unify more. I feel like that's something that we need to focus on too, which I'll get to in a minute. I do feel that Charles will take a back seat, and I do think that there'll be a lot of turbulence in the world, and I don't know if Charles wants to be front and center of that. So I think he's a Scorpio sun. He's going to pull back and let his son do a lot of the leading. He needs somebody a little bit stronger than him. Emotionally, he's a little bit less intense. So I feel like he's got a bit of a side where he likes to pull his energy back. So I feel like he's going to let William take more of the reins. So in the sense of people, I feel that the human populace is going to be in disarray. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty, and when some of these things happen, especially with economics, it's obviously a big deal. People are going to feel very shocked by this happening, by this shift that's occurring from fiat to digital currency. Even though the writing has been on the wall for a long, long time, I feel like people are still living their best lives and trying not to be focused on, what might go wrong. and things like the stock market are one example of where money sits, but we've also got things like commodities, we've also got the value of things, we've also got goods and services, and I feel like all of that is going to take a big hit in 2025. Out with the old, in with the new, and they're literally going to do the big shift. So we've had time in the sun, everybody's recovered from the COVID years, and everyone's been holidaying and living their best lives. Their share market's been going up. You're seeing people holidaying all around the world, having a really, really great time with their wealth. That can be taken away just as quickly as it was gained. So that warning is there, but the writing has been on the wall. 2025 is the middle of the kind of decade of the 20s, and I feel like that's where they really need to start to implement these changes to get to their goal of 2030, and it's definitely still there. So that Davos meeting in 2025, early in January, the theme of that meeting is supposed to be building trust. And I think that's kind of funny because people have obviously questioned some of the powers that be, which has been fantastic. One thing they can never really, kind of prepare for is how people will react. They usually have like their web of how, different scenarios might play out. But I feel like building trust is what they're trying to do. And in order to build trust, they need to create fractionism. They need to create fragmentation. So they wanted this disunity. They wanted people to be individuals. They wanted people to be in their lanes, not working together, because with unity becomes strength. So I think that they're going to really start to talk about, this fragmentation and how they can, cohesively bring things back together. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what some of these world leaders say at Davos. And I think it's going to really show us what their bigger plans are. But yeah, watch that. Have a look at what some of the agendas are there. It's very interesting. But I think it is more still about this one world government, still about this dystopian, 20-minute neighborhoods and smart cities. It's all there. Like all you have to do is pop it in your local neighborhood, have a look what their plans are. And it might look very lovely when you read it all, but it's all about control. So we're going to be living in these weird dystopian type cities eventually if they get their way. But remember, the people always have a decision to make. They always have a choice. So what I'm feeling from the light, from the positive energy, is that people might unify more. When we take money out of the equation, I don't think what they've prepared themselves for is that people find strength, people find community, people find those things that they lost while they pursued wealth. So we're going to see maybe that unification coming back. Well, that's my hope anyway. So I hope we start to see glimmers of that in 2025. I know some of you more skeptical people out there will probably think, well, if we don't have unity now, it's going to be really hard to get back. I agree with that, but I think take away the element of where that unity caused disarray, and that is the pursuit of wealth. That definitely did create fragmentation. Deliberately, very deliberately. Let people think they have the opportunity to make money, to become wealthy, and it usurps everything. People make decisions that are very irrational if they think they're going to become richer or get more money, and it actually alienates them from that connection to other people, to community, and to family. So the strength of family is rising, which I think is something that's going to hopefully put a stop to these big dystopian plans. That's my hope. Okay, so I do think that they've had issues with AI and stuff like that, but that's all deliberate as well. They've had this technology for a long, long time. We haven't had access to it as the people. Now we're getting little bits of it. We're getting glimmers of what AI can do, and they're almost monitoring how we're using it. So then they get an idea of how they can monetize that, how they can control that, and then AI is going to feature as part of our everyday lives. So we're going to see more of that next year. We're going to see more of those like auto kind of self-driving cars and stuff like that for freight, and everything's going to become quite quickly advanced that way. We're going to see the quantum computers come in and be used more readily. They are very early in their phases, but I feel like they've been around again for a long time. That's something that I think when Matt does a live on, he can really touch on where quantum computing is going, because he's more technologically minded than me that way. But I do definitely feel the age of AI and the age of quantum computing is upon us deliberately. All of these technologies can be used definitely to to help people, but I don't know if they're going to use these to help people as much. I feel like powers that be are going to use them for control, but certainly the people, when the people have access to these technologies, can definitely use these for good. Not everything is marred with darkness. Things can be used for positive outcomes. So I want you to remember that too, that we don't always have, it's not always bad, evil technology. We use it all the time. I've got this amazing camera that I'm talking to at the moment, and that is incredible technology that allows me to connect with you guys. So I think that it's not always bad. I feel like technology can be used for a lot of good. I feel like it's going to connect people more. People are going to start to, and the powers that be are going to realize that people will find ways to connect. And so technology that way, I think will be very positive. But I think the people have to have that, almost that disarray first in order to either choose community and connection versus upheaval and stress. So we'll see where it goes, and I really hope that people do, start to see that there is power in community and connection. That's what I really hope. But it's very interesting that there is also going to always be that programming, that influence from the media, from connection to the people that way, where they're going to be trying to create a sense of safety in the policies that they're enacting, in the changes. Don't worry, we're going to unify government, it'll be okay. Don't worry, we're going to have a better financial system. So right now you're seeing some problems, but hey, we've got you, it's all good. And unfortunately, a lot of people do fall for those scenarios and believe that that is actually the plan. And I know some of the things I'm saying are very controversial. They are my own opinions. But, I really do feel that there's a lot more at play than what we see behind the scenes when it comes to these political decisions and the people that they place at the forefront. So 2025, I think, very much a year of financial upheaval, very much a year of that roller coaster ride where the beginning of the year looks like it's going to be really strong. We're going to see economic growth in the US. Everyone's going to feel confident. Usually the markets are a bit turbulent in January, and then it's just going to gain a bit of momentum. By the middle of the year, I feel like that's going to start to fall out pretty dramatically, and they're going to have their backup plan, ready for the people. So they do have their thumbs in a few different pies, so I don't know which one they'll pull out. We have seen drones in the sky, things like that, and I think that's getting people prepared for, more of these world staging events. So it'll be interesting to see what they do decide to do. Again, they create a problem, and then they'll have the solution to save us. So this is always very interesting to see where they'll go, but I think they'll keep pursuing the climate change agenda, and that will lead us even more into, some of the decisions around, controlling our movement and things like that. But there's some of my predictions for 2025. I hope you've enjoyed that. I will jump on, obviously, as things start to take shape, and maybe play some of this back and do a bit of a live. But these are the main things that I'm seeing. Sometimes when you have psychic connection, and we all have it to a degree, it will come to me in different ways. So I usually get downloads in the form of dreams a lot. I get them through like a tarot reading or a connection with something that I'm watching, or, sometimes it'll just be a real strong intuitive feeling. So sometimes these things happen, and I'll get on and share those with you. I feel like it's now time to start sharing these insights, because power is, everything is knowledge is power, and it's all about having that individual ability to make decisions for your future and have that control over what you decide, because they can decide collectively as governments, as big establishments, and they can make big decisions, but we have the power to make our own lives and do our own things in the background. So it does give us a little bit of insight and wisdom. I hope you've enjoyed watching today. Thank you.